Hello and welcome. This is an exciting time and topic for you are the creator of your own reality. And when you first read that or you first heard that, if you've never heard it before and you're hearing it here for the first time, just take a moment either way to let that sink in. Because when you truly believe that, then you move into this space of being a really successful woman, and all of your relationships will change for the better because you can see through the lens of, I am creating all of this. I am available to take 100% responsibility for my external circumstances, regardless of whether I like them or not. I'm going to reference some of the work that I've studied here so you can better understand this foundational principle, because it can be really challenging to see through this lens and say, wait a minute, Rebecca, like I went through having cancer, or I went through losing a child, or what. This can be a very challenging concept to fully understand, and I want to help you with that. So it's easy to say, I'm manifesting, and I'm manifesting this, and I'm manifesting that. And you can't go there and say that you're manifesting this or you're manifesting that, and then choose to say, I manifested this, but I didn't manifest that. That is the deciphering that I want you to make here, because it is a really powerful thing to think about it from that perspective. If you think that you are manifesting more clients and more abundance and your soulmate and all of these things, but you then go and decide to say, but I didn't manifest the cancer, and I didn't manifest the divorce, or I didn't manifest this travesty, then you're not really showing up fully for yourself. I have been through a tremendous amount in my life, and I have been able to use this specific tool of believing that I am the creator of my own reality and actually embodying it to the place of knowing that that is true. And it has been one of the most freeing concepts and trainings that I have ever received. Caroline Myss has written a book called Sacred Contracts. And in that, she talks about many, many different things that are so freeing. But when I first came to this work and took it even more deep and fully and developed it into some of the work that I do, it was the most freeing work that I had, because it helped me to see through the lens of, we have these sacred contracts with people, and there are clients that you are meant to work with for a reason, and that there is a divine timing of which people come into your life and when and why and what they are supposed to cause for you in your life on a soul level or on a conscious level. And the way she explained it one time, which I thought was really funny, and I usually will use my example when I'm saying this to clients, is that when we're in soul form, that our souls are coming to earth school to learn lessons. And so we're sitting in a room with our spiritual director, and they're kind of scripting out what's going to happen, or the basics for your life blueprint, if you will. And I was put up for adoption when I was 3 days old, and I spent 6 weeks in a child care institute before my parents, that my adopted parents then came and adopted me. And I'm telling you this just so you have a foundation of the story that I'm getting ready to tell you. So if I'm wherever I am before I'm in human form, and I'm sitting there in spirit form or what have you with my soul director, my spiritual director, and the spiritual director says, now wait a minute, who here wants to learn the lesson of abandonment and rejection? And my soul raises its hand and says, ooh, I'll do it. I'll go to earth school and I'll learn the lessons of abandonment and rejection. And then the spiritual director says, okay, great. So we think that Rebecca should be put up for adoption. So if that's the case, then we need 2 people who are going to step forward here, or 2 souls that are going to step forward here. And they have to be willing to give her up for adoption. And so my biological parents, Jessica and Mark, they're raising their hand in soul form, and they're saying, okay, we'll go to earth school, and we'll be the biological parents that end up getting pregnant at age 16 and giving birth to this redheaded baby, and so on and so on. And then they're like, okay, now we need someone who will adopt this child. And we need to really have this soul learn the lesson of abandonment and rejection so, so deeply that we need adopted parents who will also abandon and reject this soul. And so then my parents come up and they say, ooh, I'll do it. We'll do it. Okay. And then we all come to Earth School and our lives intersect at the exact divine right time for all of these things to happen. And when you think about it from that perspective, it is freeing, and you can get to a place of forgiveness for the people that you may have perceived have wronged you. And you see through a completely and totally different lens. So everything that has happened to you, you see through this lens of, why did this soul come into my life? What were they here to teach me? And what were they to sculpt about my character that literally contributed and led to the divine being that I am in this present moment? And like I said, I've been through a lot. I have had cancer. I have watched a best friend on her deathbed die. Within a 3-month period, I was in my home and 2 men tried to break into my home and I was burglarized. Fortunately, they did not get into my home and the police came before they arrived, but it was very traumatic. Literally less than a month after that, that was when I was sitting on my best friend's hospice bed and watching her die. And a month after that, I had a near-death experience driving to New York City, and I had my brakes go out and I was in the fast lane and I came around a bend and there was a parking lot in front of me because all of a sudden there was this crazy traffic. I was going 70 miles per hour, no shoulder, up against a J wall. And still till this day, I have absolutely no explanation whatsoever as to how I did not die, how I did not kill someone else. I literally drifted over 4 lanes of highway traffic into a shoulder and very, very slowly with no brakes got to a gas station. And even then on my path of personal development, I thought, well, this is convenient. I have a client who can come pick me up and I'm going to a workshop and the mechanic can fix my brakes while I'm in the workshop. How miraculous is this? Versus, oh my God, why did this happen to me? And so on and so on. And if you begin to reflect on your life, as to how many experiences you have had that were really you creating your reality and what the lesson was that you learned from that, and not being a victim of a burglary, or not being a victim of people who rejected and abandoned you, or not being a victim of an ex-husband who was really horrible to you, and not being a victim of all of the things in your life, of a near-death experience, all of them, you begin to see through the lens of everything is happening for my highest good at the exact right divine time. And it is one of the most empowering things that you can do on your journey, because then every encounter that you have, you will see, this person came into my life to teach me this. This person came into my life to give me back my power. And when I was going through a divorce, I was very, very happy about going through this divorce because I am such a committed person that I would have probably have stayed for however long. And as fate would have it, the universe stepped in on my behalf, created a traumatic experience that allowed me to really see that this relationship was over after 18 years. And during that time period, my parents supported my ex-husband. They were helping him to furnish his rental property that he moved out into. And I was in a state of really freaking out financially because I had never been financially independent in my entire life. And I went on that year to triple my income and make $172,000 in my business by using faith and by staying out of doubt and by being in the present moment and having a very strong conviction about the kind of life that I was going to provide for my children going forward. And most people would look at that situation and say, how could your parents do that to you? And a lot of people do. And it's a level of consciousness. And at the same time, as challenging as it was to be married to an alcoholic and go through all of the things that I went through, and then have parents that were supporting my alcoholic ex-husband, I was able to really see that what they brought to me was this pushing me out of the door to my own freedom. And I actually had a psychic medium tell me that several years back. And at the time it didn't make sense, but he said, I was having so many challenges with my husband at the time, now ex-husband, and I was having so many challenges with my parents at the time. And when I was in the psychic reading, he said this to me. He said, Rebecca, they are pushing you out the door to your own freedom. And like I said, I didn't understand what that meant then, but in hindsight, after I became financially independent as a single person for the first time in my life and watched my parents support my ex-husband, I was able to see that that's exactly indeed what they did, is they pushed me out the door to my own freedom. For if my adopted parents hadn't abandoned and rejected me, on top of being abandoned and rejected, I would not have healed the wounds of abandonment and rejection to the point where I am here for me. I do not reject myself. I do not abandon myself. And going through that experience with my ex-husband really allowed me to see him as one of the greatest mentors, because in all of the challenges that happened, it sculpted my character and it helped me to be the woman that I am today. And your greatest adversaries are your greatest teachers. And when you see through the lens of the sacred contract, you can see that these cast of characters have come into your life to remind you and to bind you to the path that you already know, to your soul's path. And that is lyrics from a friend of mine's song, Bob Sima, called It's Amazing. And it is truly amazing. And I want you to know that everything that has happened in your reality, you have on some level, whether a conscious level or on a soul level, you have called that into your life to sculpt your character to become the amazing woman that you already are. So embrace her.